Okay, so we're back at home now, and I think we have found the culprit from our weekend. So at the weekend, I discussed the paint mark on that bolt had moved and me tightening it back up. And you can actually see, obviously I went beyond where the original paint mark was by about a quarter of a turn to actually get that torque to spec. So, but on closer inspection, there's my problem. So we caught the front one and dealt with that in the time that we could. But it completely flew the rear bolt, so I'm guessing there'll be no gasket out there, at all. Hey ho, it's part of motorsport and racing, so gives me an excuse to do a video of how to replace a side plate gasket on a World Formula for you guys. Okay, so the tools we're going to need to complete this job, obviously a World Formula side plate gasket, torque wrench, rattle gun, not essential, but I use it to break the clutch free, which you'll see shortly. A nice sharp flat blade to clean the mating surfaces. The flat blade screwdriver is actually to help break the clutch free, but again, I'll explain that in a bit. 13mm socket, some silicone sealant. Now, that's an addition that a few of us put on. As I say, please refer to the manual. This is just my preferred way of doing it. And then, of course, some new side plate bolts. These are stretch bolts, so I carry quite a few of them. And normally I would look at maybe replacing all of them. But on this occasion, I'm going to use the ones that are on the engine because they've run less than 3 times. So anyway, let's show you how to do that. Oh, last but by no means least, drop the camera there. A 13mm spanner in case you don't want to use the rattle gun, but I'll explain that shortly. Okay, so there is a couple of ways of breaking off the clutch bolt. One is to put a big fat screwdriver in the flywheel there, and as you start to turn it, the flywheel will move and then eventually jam up against the top there. But I tend to find if you just put a rattle gun on it, it will bring it straight off. So let's give that a go. Okay, so make sure that's going the right way. I am filming with one hand and trying to do this with the other, so bear with me. There we go. So there is a compression washer, which is convex, as you can see there, and that goes on the outside, and then just a flat washer on the inside. So a little bit of red Loctite when we put that back on. But now we'll try and take the clutch off with one hand. This should be fun. As I say, as the engine's new, it might actually come off. Look at that. Happy days. So that slides straight off, and then on the back there, you can see the wood rough key has just turned off, fell out, and don't know if you can see it there, but there is there you go, there's the guide that the wood rough key slides into. You can see that I've already taken this off before. Towards engine is the back plate. You can set these clutches in 2 different orientations depending on how it bites in. There's the more aggressive way and the slower way. So most of us run them more aggressive, and that's just a key to me to make sure I put it back round the right way. So we'll get that out of the way. The next job is to break off all of my lovely paint marked bolts and take that off. Yeah, I've got to be careful when you break this off because if you pull, you can actually pull the crank and the innards out as well, which you will see. So again, make sure you return to the manual for all the instructions on how to do this. Uncle Kev from our club, I've got to thank him for showing me how to do this, and I've just always followed that guidance, but that's not to say I know what I'm doing. So have a look at the manual and I'll continue to show you what I do. Okay, I'll do my best to keep this in frame, so I'm just going to tilt the engine back and with a dead blow hammer just knock the side case up, and that is actually coming off. So at this point I'm going to, oh, there you go. So there's the side plate off. I hope you guys can see that, and what I'll do is I'll come to the camera and we can actually see our challenge there. Side plate gasket didn't actually give in all the way, but obviously it not being tight just allowed the oil to come out. So that's a shame, but it is what it is. Now we can have a look inside the World Formula engine. So let's Oh, I'll tilt that back and put it in the sun for you. Here's the inside. Now there is a timing mark on this cog, and there is also a timing mark on that one there, but it's hidden behind a couple of packing shims to stop the side to side knock. So what I'll do is I'll take that off and I'll show you. So when it's at TDC, those two are meant to be together, but I'm not planning on touching them or moving them at all. As you can see, look, there's a little bit of residue of gasket down there. So that's my next job, to get this all absolutely spotlessly clean, and obviously on the case cover itself. And then once I've done that, we can start to prepare it. Okay guys, so there's the side plate all cleaned up with a nice sharp blade, and obviously the corresponding mating service onto the engine. I have removed those two shims just so I can quickly show you that timing mark down there. And obviously with that timing mark being all the way over there, it means we're not at top dead centre. With this engine being, as I say, it's only run 3 times and one time at half RPM on the track. So what I think I'm going to do is I might just roll with the standard gasket and not any additional sealant, because it hasn't been for a lot of heat cycles, so you wouldn't think that these sides would be very warped. We've got a mechanic in the club who works on a lot of our older engines called AJ. I'm going to give him a quick call, see what he thinks, and you'll see what I do shortly. Okay, so after talking to AJ, he basically said even on the older engines, he doesn't put gasket sealant in. He only runs with a gasket. Very interestingly, this gasket is a new material that I haven't seen before. So maybe that will assist us. The gasket actually has, hang on, let me take this carefully off so I can show you guys. It's got actually silicone built into it when it squashes, but not round the bolt holes. I don't know if that's by design or just they couldn't manufacture it that way. So anyway, that's that. I'll put that to one side for 1 second because there's something else to discuss. So these are the torque settings for the engine. As you can see, the side plate cover, you torque it up to different torquings depending on the bolt. Now, interestingly enough, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Can you see that? LP, it basically says LP88. So it's the weaker of the graded bolts there. Last year I bought a stock of spare bolts, and I think you'll be able to see that it says MT98. It's not quite 10.8, but they are a stronger grade of bolt. So luckily I like spares, so I've got lots of spares. So I'm going to replace all of the engine side plate bolts for these stronger rated bolts. Now that puts me somewhere between 18 to 19 and 29 to 30 newton meters. I think 29 to 30 newton meters is massively overkill. I'm going to aim for about 22. So let's get the gasket on there then, get the new bolts unpacked and get the everything torqued back up. You can see that there is actually red Loctite around the end of these, but because of the issues we have with them coming loose, I can't see it, but I've got red Loctite around here somewhere, so I'm going to be putting quite a lot of red Loctite on before I seal it back up. But as you can see in there, it's absolutely brand new and spangly and in very good nick. So let's get it sealed up with some new bolts, and that should almost be job done. I cut the video, by the way, because I had to just lay it back on its side and give the crank just a little jiggle just to get it all in place, and then a little bit of persuasion from the old precision tool. Nothing too heavy, just a little knock or two. So okay, now we're going to go on with the red Loctite, and I know they're red Loctite anyway, but
getting back on my feet. I look in the mirror now and I don't...
Not one for the Ooga Dooga. So we'll go over to the torque wrench. Obviously I set that loose because you've got to do that to do the string. Got newton meters here. I'm going to start off with about 18. So let's get that.
to do. Don't give up on me, gave up my whole ways, now I'm looking brand new. Don't give up on me, promise to do whatever I've got to do. Don't give up on me, gave up my whole ways.
Okay, so all of them are 19. Just because of the bottom ones, I'm going to pull it to the end of the table. You might not be able to see it, but I'll get them torqued up and I'll let you know where I ended up at. But it's not going to be far from there because that's starting to feel tight to me. Okay, so one other quick thing to mention. I haven't put the paint marks on the bolts yet. I'm going to do that in a second. But when reinstalling the clutch, I obviously run the crank until the woodruff key slot is at the bottom for obvious reasons. But this is definitely worth a mention. It is, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, guys. It's flat on one side and it is concave. No, wrong word. Anyway, it's been rounded on the inside, which I think you can see there. So I'll put it on the wrong way first, because there's a mating surface on the back here. And if you put it on wrong, you can see that there's a gap there. But if you put it on, so the two rounded bits meet, doing this with one hand nice and hard, you can see she buttons up ever so nicely there. So once that's done, the woodruff key there, there's a slot. You've got to turn the inner sprocket to match up with a slot in the plates. And then if you do that, the woodruff key just drops into place. So then I should be able to just drop it on. In fact, let's try and do it in one video. Why not? Set myself up for a fall. So, get that on there like that. Oh yeah, it's like I've done it before. So while we're here then, a little bit more red Loctite. And as I say, flat washer, and then the convex one goes on the outside so you're compressing as you're tightening it up. Not quite so much red Loctite, but a dab of red. Get that on there like that. Oh, and then we'll go straight in with some uggers and duggers. And then I will actually do the manual way. So just to show you that, I'll spin that round and reset the camera. So what I'm doing here, let me spin that round so you can see. First of all, work out which way the flywheel is going to go, tightening it up. So I'm going to go up. So therefore the flywheel is going to go up as well. So I'm going to put a screwdriver in the flywheel, move it until it hits there, put my stomach on that. So as you can see, I've just extended the paint marks onto all 6 of the bolts. I'll just wait for that to dry and then put a little bit of sealant over the top of it just to keep it safe from a little bit of petrol or oil or cleaners as the season goes on. So that's that job pretty much buttoned up. We'll find out when we get to Forest whether that's worked or not. And thanks for tuning in. And thanks for my wife going shopping today with my daughter so I could bring the engine in the house. None of this would have ever happened by the time she gets back. Anyway, these trials and tribulations happen. That should be good for me. And I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.